Hey guys, JC here from the sunny Hibiscus Coast, although not very sunny today. About 3 weeks ago, I had a meeting with a client from Colombia who were getting ready to apply for a mortgage. And they've been living in New Zealand for about 15 years. And probably 10 years ago, they were maybe in a position to go and buy a house. But she said that she was very scared of having this big debt, mortgage debt. Okay. And I come across this quite often. So, what is the debt on your mortgage compared to the debt of paying rent for the rest of your life? Because not having a mortgage doesn't mean you don't have debt, okay? When you think about it, you're going to live somewhere, you're going to have to pay someone else's mortgage where you're paying that rent. So, I did this comparison, okay? And I put 1% per annum appreciation on the rental, normally it's about 3%. And I put an average of 5% interest rate on a $700,000 mortgage with a property value of about 800,000. Let's say you put 10% deposit. Okay, so year one you're paying $650 a week for your rent. Year one you're paying about $808 per week on a mortgage. Okay. Then you go forwards 5 years, you're going to be paying about 676. This is just with a 1% appreciation. Then year 5 with your mortgage, you're paying 765, so it's dropping. Then year 10, you're paying 710 on your rent, and you're paying about 671 for your mortgage. So you started with a much higher weekly repayment on your mortgage and a much lower weekly repayment on your rent. But as time goes by and we get inflation and the rent becomes more and more expensive, then your rent becomes more expensive and your mortgage will decrease because you're paying it down. Okay, obviously there is other cost associated to having a mortgage, but that is the trend, that as you pay the mortgage down, you're going to be paying less. Rent is never going to cost you less if you're living in a similar type of house in a similar neighborhood. Okay, obviously you can always move and pay less, but if you want to stay in the same place, your rent will probably keep increasing with time. Now, rent over 10 years totals about 346,000 that you pay on that rent. On a mortgage, you're paying about 420,000, so you're paying more on the mortgage. But what is the big difference here? Renting for 10 years builds zero equity, so you gain nothing. You live somewhere, but there's no wealth built for you that you can use in the future, either for retirement, for investing on other things, that kind of stuff. Buying a home for 700K or 800K today, you can build equity on about 10 years of about 500K plus, okay? So the annual appreciation rate in New Zealand for the last 30 years, the average is about 6 to 7%, okay? So this is below that 6 to 7%. So normally properties have double in price every 9 to 10 years in the last 30 years average, okay? And this is through wars, through recessions, through everything else. So you got to think long term, right? So 10 years plus. So what happens here? You pay rent for 10 years, you got nothing. You paid your mortgage for 10 years. Now in 10, 15, 20 years, you're going to be paying less and less and less for your mortgage. But at the same time, you're building all this equity, okay? So as you're paying your mortgage, you're reducing how much you're paying for it. And if you're renting, you're going to be paying more. So when you talk about having this debt and this pressure that you got to pay this off, well, it's pretty much the same when you're renting. And the only thing you really know is that the rent's going to become more expensive unless you move to somewhere cheaper, okay? Your mortgage, if you buy something today, in 10 years' time, is going to cost you less. In 20, will cost you less. In 30, or even less, you'll have no mortgage, okay? And you have all this equity built. So the question is, do you keep renting, build zero equity, or you buy a house and aim to decrease how much you're spending long term and build a little bit of wealth that then you can use in the future to leverage from, to retire, to help you in the future? You decide.